Let's finish this.
Is Dead by Daylight worth your time? An asymmetrical horror game from 2016 where a killer faces off against 4 survivors. With both killers and survivors coming from different franchises, you must have this pyramid of pure nostalgia built, right? Yes, it is indeed quite juicy when it comes to the nostalgia factor. I mean, haven't you really wanted to stomp Carlos with Nemesis? Haven't you thought maybe for a second, I'd love to see all the stars completely be wiped out? Yes, indeed, it is fun as hell to play as killer. If you're playing Survivor, sometimes you can have the upper hand against the killer, but it really takes teamwork. In fact, you can work against your teammates, give away their locations, and use them as bait for the killer. On the other hand, you can play the same card with the killer and keep the bait wide out in the open. You don't have to put anybody on the hook. You just do that to score points. You can throw them on the ground and leave them, and guess what? Someone's probably gonna come to pick them up, and then that's when you make your move. As Nemesis, as Pyramid Head, as Pinhead, as Michael Myers, you can definitely get down to the brass tacks on some bloody, damn, horrific violence. And although it doesn't look like a game from 2022 or beyond, this is a game that compels people to return over and over again. You know what makes it worth returning is the perks. They make you a compelling player to go against. They make you a compelling killer to go against and try to escape from. These locations, their layouts, and the map design overall, just how many different maps are is pretty impressive. But overall, what I'd like to really pay attention to is the design of the map and the distance between generators which survivors have to fix to get out of the location. As someone who had previously dunked on this game for basically years, I gave it a chance because my friends told me, hey, play it with me, we'll see what happens. And I'll tell you what, I gave it that chance, as I do with most games, if not all of them. It actually is a compelling experience, especially when you're playing with people. If you're not playing with people, killer is the only route I go. I simply refuse to play as a survivor without somebody on my team who has a brain. Because pairing up with randoms and having a team of 4, that can be just fine. But if you really want to solve the puzzle pieces, if you want to put something together where you're surviving and thriving, you play with a group, and then we'll see what happens. But until then, I play as killer, and I tell you what, it is bloody horror that I have fantasized about when it comes to Pyramid Head, when it comes to Nemesis or Albert Wesker. And that's really a strange thing, isn't it? I wouldn't expect Albert Wesker to be in this game, but now that he is, he's the best killer. He's flat out the best killer. I personally like Pyramid Head the best, but when it comes to Albert Wesker, you can fly across the map in seconds. That's really all it comes down to, is covering most of the map and making sure you've got every generator covered. Keeping your eyes on everything at all times is what the name of the game is. And as a survivor, it's totally on a different level. You have to work with a crew. You can't just pick up a flashlight and blind a killer and go in, trying to get away yourself. This is a teamwork-based game, and if you aren't a team player, it's going to be very hard for you to get away, and sometimes your teammates will straight up give you up. I haven't given up anyone personally, but what I can tell you is I would to get away in this game because it is scary. Why is it scary? The compelling audio is one factor that makes this game ultimately horrific. I mean, it's not just the music or the blood-curdling screams let out by survivors. It's the footsteps of the killer coming to get you. It's this fear radius that puts the needles under your skin. It's the thought of your favorite slasher villain coming straight after you with a knife. It's like really one of those games you would say should exist, but probably wouldn't. And the thing is, Dead by Daylight has problems. I'm not gonna say this game is flawless. I've seen it run like shit. I've seen people DC and make the game just worthless. I've seen trolls and terrible killers and all sorts of things, bugs and glitches. I've seen people go through walls. The Nintendo Switch version runs so horribly and looks so bad that I physically laughed out loud. It wasn't even a joke. It was just funny to see something run so poorly. Nintendo Switch, please figure it out, my god. As a new player to Dead by Daylight in 2022, as of this recording, I can say it's quite a fulfilling game, and you do not have to pay for it. It was on Game Pass. The only thing I ever paid for was Albert Wesker's DLC, Project W, with Rebecca Chambers and Ada Wong attached as well. That to me is worth it. $10? That's damn well worth it. Flat out, I have no problem with that. But the thing is, some people think you have to pay for this game. No. In fact, the most OP killer I can think of, the Doctor, someone I used in the beginning, but I'm probably never going to use again, is flat out a badass, and you can take over the whole damn game with that character. Now, again, the better characters are probably people you can purchase, and you have to buy those characters to get these perks to cross over to other characters, but sometimes it's worth it to put in a little bit of change into the game to keep it going at the rate you want it. If this left Game Pass, I'd be screwed because I'm not about to buy Dead by Daylight. Is it worth playing? Yes. Is it worth your money? No. Not unless, of course, you're on some nostalgia trip hell-bent on some bloody, vicious, compelling chase through what I would call one of the more fulfilling horror experience, especially in the asymmetrical horror genre. When it comes to Friday the 13th, I love the compelling kills. They have great animations in their game, and usually it looks better than Dead by Daylight's animations. But flat out, the game is broken. I got it for $3 from a generous donator to the channel, and let me just say, it is a broken game. In comparison to this, it's fine, but let's just get down to the brass tacks. There's a reason why this is still compelling to people. There's a reason the community is so large and vast, with so many different people coming from so many different locations and just enjoyment of the game in different ways. Like, you don't have to play in a toxic way. You don't have to troll. You don't have to be mean at all. You can play and be nice. As the killer, as the survivor, both ways it can go toxic, but flat out, the community that keeps this game alive, that's what it really comes down to. And the franchises that keep this alive, like Resident Evil, or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or Hellraiser, shit, all of them. They keep the game alive in a way that makes sense. And to pay for Dead by Daylight, well, that's up to you. Me personally, I'm enjoying it on Game Pass, and factually, I've only paid $10 for this game, and I'd say $10 is well worth the money. Well worth the time, well worth the money, as long as you don't mind some bumps in the road. Until next time, folks, may every road lead you to warm sands. But until then, ta-ta!